All right, welcome everyone. Today, we are diving into something I know a ton of you have felt, that super frustrating feeling of being, well, stuck. We're going to break down a method, a real structured way to get you out of that learning trap and start building skills that you can actually use. So let me ask you something. Does this sound familiar? You've just watched, I don't know, a 2-hour tutorial. The person on screen is a genius, everything they say just clicks, and you're nodding along thinking, yeah, I get this. But then, the video ends. You open up your editor, stare at that blinking cursor on a blank screen, and nothing. That confidence just evaporates. You can't write the code from scratch. And listen, this is not you failing. This is a super common trap we call tutorial hell. So why does this happen? Well, it's a tricky little thing our brain does, a cognitive trap called the illusion of competence. Basically, our brain confuses recognizing something with being able to create it. It's like watching a chef make a fancy dish. It looks easy when they do it, right? But that doesn't mean you can go into the kitchen and do it yourself. You feel like you're learning, but really, you're just becoming a really good spectator. Okay, so let's dig into this tutorial hell trap. We really need to understand why this illusion is so powerful and why just watching someone who's a pro isn't going to cut it for building your own skills. You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. Watching a pro coder is exactly like watching a tennis match. Everything looks so smooth, so easy. But here's the thing. You can watch a pro play all day long, and it's not going to build a single muscle in your arm or improve your backhand. You get the rules, you appreciate the mastery, but you can't actually play. Coding is the same deal. It is a hands-on sport. You only get good by getting your hands on the racket yourself. And if you want to get into the science of it, here's the breakdown of why this passive learning just doesn't work. First off, watching something only activates recognition in your brain. You see the code and go, oh yeah, I've seen that before. But to actually write code, you need active recall. That's the magic of pulling the solution out of your own head. Plus, when you're just watching, you miss out on two crucial things. You don't get immediate feedback when you make a mistake, and you don't experience what's called desirable difficulty. That's the healthy struggle that actually cements things in your memory for good. You know, this gap between knowing something and actually doing it, it's not just a feeling. It's literally hardwired into our brains. It turns out we have two totally different systems for these two things. Okay, check this out. On one hand, you've got declarative memory. Think of this as your brain's encyclopedia. It's for knowing what? It stores facts, rules, concepts, like knowing the exact syntax for a for loop. You fill this up by reading or watching tutorials. But then there's the other system, procedural memory. This is your knowing how system. This is for skills, habits, things you do almost automatically. And here's the kicker. You can only build this memory through active hands-on practice, by doing, by repeating, and yeah, by messing up and fixing it. And that right there is the fundamental problem. When you're just watching a tutorial, you're lighting up your declarative, fact-based memory. You're not exercising that procedural, skill-based muscle at all. So your brain gets tricked. It thinks, I know how to do this, when really all it knows is what it looks like when someone else does it. So if just watching videos is a dead end, what's the answer? How do we actually bridge that gap from knowing to doing? Well, that's where something called the CODEX method comes in. It's a framework developed by Alain STEVENS, basically born out of his own frustration with this exact problem. It's a system designed from the ground up to actively build expertise, not just watch it. The real magic of CODEX is that it's a cycle, something you repeat over and over. First, you conceptualize, just one single idea, keep it small. Next, and this is key, you immediately operate. You get your hands dirty and write some actual code. Then comes debug. You learn to find and fix the errors that will inevitably pop up. After that, you explain it. Can you describe it in your own words? That's the real test. And finally, you explore. You take that new skill and apply it to a new problem, a little mini project. This whole cycle, this is the engine that finally turns knowing what into knowing how. And this isn't just some abstract theory either. The CODEX method is the real-world engine powering the Pacta Learning platform. And they're actually putting it to the test with their training for Cobol. Yeah, Cobol. It's still a super critical language in big finance and banking, which makes it a perfect place to prove how well this structured approach works.
So the whole platform is built to make the Codex cycle as smooth as possible. Instead of marathon video sessions, you get these short, focused micro lessons so your brain doesn't get overloaded. It uses spaced repetition to help you lock in the syntax, the knowing what part, which frees up your brain power to focus on actual problem solving. And I love this part, debugging isn't some extra topic at the end. It's baked right into the learning process from the start. That's how you build real-world resilience.
And you can see the results, even for people who've been in the industry for years. I mean, listen to this quote from a senior developer. They'd been actively avoiding Cobol for 15 years, and in just 3 weeks with this method, they finally got it. They said it transformed learning from a chore into an intellectual adventure. That's pretty powerful stuff. So, what's the big takeaway here? What does this mean for you? It really comes down to taking a moment and thinking about how you're learning. Are you just consuming content, or are you actively building a skill? Because that difference, well, it's everything. When you boil it all down, you're left with two very different paths. You've got the passive spectator path. That one creates the illusion you're getting good, but it just keeps you hooked on tutorials. Then you've got the active practitioner path. This is where you build real, flexible skills, the kind that give you the confidence and autonomy to tackle problems you've never seen before. One path leads to tutorial hell. The other, that's the one that leads to mastery.
So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. Are you learning as a spectator or as a practitioner? Because getting out of tutorial hell isn't about finding the perfect tutorial. It's about changing your entire approach. It's about deciding to stop watching from the sidelines and finally pick up the racket yourself.